The problem is not change. It stretches you. The problem is not uncertainty. It feels uncomfortable. The problem is not AI. The problem is that you have been trained to adapt instead of create. And you've forgotten how to create. Welcome to Winvolve, where science meets spirit and turns into the strategy. I'm Violetta, business doctor for exponential age. And today I want to diagnose something that is hiding in the plain sight. So many leaders know how to respond. You push more, you stretch more, you're becoming more resistant, more adaptable, and sometimes you break. Many leaders know how to manage. They know how to perform. And they know how to carry pressure. They know how to keep going when the road is hard. But they have lost the touch with something deeper. How to initiate, how to imagine, how to choose, how to create what does not exist yet. And after a while, that does something to a human being. You can be successful on paper. You can have the title, the experience, the track record, but it still feels like it's being driven by the forces outside of you. The constant deadlines, the new technology you have to catch up with the fear of being irrelevant. So you're pushing and trying, and markets and expectations and the clients and the pressure. And slowly, without even noticing, you stop asking, what do I want to create? And you start asking only, how do I keep up? That is the real crisis, because adaptation can help you survive the change. But adaptation alone will never help you to lead the future. And why this happens? Because this is not a laziness, this is not a weakness, and this is not that people suddenly become less capable. This is a nervous system inside. That's the issue. The brain is built first for survival. That's what we know. This is how it's constructed. And it's not for the visionary leadership. But think about it. In the normal circumstances, we go for meaning. We go for what is important. The pyramid of Maslow has got something very important on top of it, the meaningfulness. And in the book, In Search for Meaning, Frank talks about that even the biggest crisis, that's what really helps humans survive. That search, that meaning. And where the meaning come from? It comes from creation, from building. Do you remember last time when you felt this building exercise, when you see something being grown and you created, you built it, you innovated? But currently, in the survival mode, under the stress, more energy gets directed towards the threat detection and less towards the flexible reflective function associated with the prefrontal cortex. When pressures stay high for too long, most people do not become more imaginative. They become more protective. They narrow down. They scan for danger. And now the danger is not only in the forest, it's actually in our head. So we look for certainty. We look for control because the control is safety. Control is certainty. They trust less. They move into the short-term management, micromanagement, and also they switch off. This is not the character flow. This is also why I'm fascinated by human beings and who we are, what we are, and how we evolve. Actually, there will be a book on that. And then something even more important happens. The behaviors that help you survive start getting rewarded. So, for example, being available on those stretches, being responsive. When somebody pulls you more, you let being pull more. And then suddenly you break, or suddenly you say, I need to build boundaries. Like you have to build a cave to feel safe. That's also survival. You have to be prepared. You have to be useful. Being the one who carries everything. So adaptation stops being a strategy and starts become identity. The previous podcast talks about the identity. So you stop saying, I am adapting, and you start living as if I'm the one who must hold it all together. You have adapted. And I'm speaking here to the international readers, the adapters. So you go into the new country, you adapt into the culture, you adapt into the language, you adapt into environment, you adapt into everything around you. You keep adapting until the adaptation becomes the way of living, and you've forgotten how to create. But also the entire system taught us how to do it. Adapt to this, adapt to that, and we with the faster changes, we tell people to adapt even faster. That's the trap, because once adaptation becomes identity, creation starts to feel unsafe. And going into the unknown feels like a danger. The brilliant leaders often feel exhausted even while looking functional, looking like they're doing something. They're living from the operating system trained to survive, pressure, and not create possibilities. We often hear that human beings are the species easy to adapt, but also we species to evolve, to create. This is why we create all this technology, to have a meaningful work, to have a more time for being meaningful and moving towards creation. But what is really the core issue with the survival? The survival, it's being in the fear. When you are in the fear, you cannot create. Think about it. The best ideas come in the shower. The best ideas come in the simple conversation. Why and when? When you relax, when you don't stress, when you don't feel like you're being judged. So what does it mean? Think about it. Being in that moment when you feel like you are safe in the unknown, safe without knowing, safe without the stress of what people will think about me. And one more scientific insight that matters here. Psychology called learned helplessness. And what it is, it actually describes what can happen when repeated uncontrollable stress touches a person and that effort does not change the outcome. So, in other words, when I expect something to change, but it's nothing happening and I feel powerless. So you stop initiating, and the unknown and uncertainty, it's the biggest danger. You feel like huge block. And you know what? The block often was created when you were just a child in one of your beliefs. Maybe danger. Or maybe don't talk to strangers because stranger is dangerous. Whatever is that. So even when there is so many options, at that moment in time, you cannot see them. It's not like they don't exist. You just cannot see them. And this is why many leaders are dealing with this change or this challenge right now. Too much change, too much noise, too much speed, too much adaptation without meaning. So you are not lazy. Your system is carrying too much. In other words, the operating system is not yet upgraded for doing things differently. You cannot constantly adapt and survive because it's always in the reactive space. You always react. It's like you're waiting for somebody to make a move and then you react into it. So you react faster. We say that one of the top skills of the future leaders is adaptation. I will do a video about it. No, it's creation. It's the moment when you settle your nervous system and say, hey, stay, now I create. I see and I create. So the big aha moment here, the adaptation is not leadership. Is the insight I really want you to hear. Adaptation is a skill. Creation is the state of a future leader. And many people master the skill of adaptation while actually losing the access and to the state of creation, feeling good in creating, building in the unknown. And you know, the best ideas and the best innovation comes from mistakes, from actually stepping into this opportunity and the unknown. And leadership now requires more than just solving problem, adapting, managing, because you're gonna lead human beings into the future, not machines. The world is very unpredictable and we don't know what's gonna happen. So if you want to get competitive advantage, stop learning how to adapt and react faster. Start to come and go into the spaces where you can create the future with humans and you can stay human enough, calm enough, and clear enough to create what comes next. Don't panic, create. I have seen many of those things in my role in the career over the last 20 years, working in different corporate spaces and also working as an innovation executive. What is really a problem from the creation, implementation, innovation, and the ideas? It's not about the budget. It's not about the next big thing. And it's about people resistance to create, people resistance to move beyond what they already know. And I'm not talking here about the new disruptive technologies. I'm talking about the simple implementation of the daily activities. What is really changing now? So reactive leader ask, what is changing now? What do I need to fix? How do I reduce risk? How do I keep everything under control? And the creating leader ask, what is emerging here? What are the possibilities? What matters the most? What are we being invited to build? Who do I need to become to lead this well? Who I need to become to lead humans into their next versions of creative, imaginative, with emotional wisdom? This is a different operating system. The system that doesn't wait for permission, doesn't wait for instruction, doesn't wait something bad to happen so it can react. It actually is a system that is calm under pressure. The system that is light in the heavy situations and can create. That's the leadership of the future. So if you are feeling tired, flat, overextended, or disconnected from your own ambition, it may be not because you need more motivation, but because you have been living adaptation for too long. What the spirit tells us. Science explains the mechanism, the spiritual part, the part of the human. Explain the invitation. So science will tell you what do you do or what you don't do under chronic pressure, which we are right now, or humans will tell you protection. Spirit reminds that the protection is not the deepest truth of who you are. That's the only conditioning. So you are not the role or the person that performs under survival mode. That would be too easy and too simple, or too difficult, actually, because you are the one which reactivate, grows, evolve, expands. You have all created all these beautiful things in the world. And maybe that is the deeper invitation. Not to shame yourself for reacting or feeling bad or not doing things correctly, but actually noticing them and seeing where you have been living too far away from your deeper self, from the part that creates, that knows, that can listen to intuition, can work with the imagination, and of course, co-create also with the tools, technology, because that's what it is. And your spirit doesn't say push harder. It says come back to presence, come back to here, get involved, get creative, see where you are and move forward. Align what you want with align what else is possible. So spirit keeps calling you to create. And the logic or the space where we are right now tell us to survive. Why this matters now, especially so much for leaders who are carrying more than one world at once, leading the business, leading families, leading through change, trying to stay relevant, emotionally healthy and financially responsible at the same time. So the pressure is not just professional, it's personal, it's relational, it's existential. And this is where a lot of people quietly break. Not outside, but inside. Because what they are missing is not intelligence and more information and more knowledge. It's the space to think, space to feel, space to hear themselves again, space to reconnect with what is actually theirs. Instead of only responding to what is urgent, this is why so many functional people feel stuck. Not because they are behind, not because they are incapable, not because they need another framework, but because somewhere along the way they lost touch with a part of themselves that knows how to create in the unknown. When that part goes quiet, leadership becomes a performance. And running on the pressure, not having a time, not having a space, and it's constant adaptation. So I have seen this for years. I have seen why good ideas fail, why change gets resisted, why smart strategies die before become real. And most of the time, it's not because the strategy is bad. It's because human being was ignored. Identity, fear, trust, meaning, behavior, emotional safety. That is where transformation either happens or doesn't. This is why so many transformation efforts struggle. And analyzes, that's what is the most fascinating, analyzes and the research, every point goes to human issues like resistance, culture, low adoption, technology, or the plan. So being adaptable is not enough anymore. Reacting well is not the same as leading well. And I think that we even forgotten what the word leading means. And if you have a human, you have a body, you are a leader of your own life, and often a leader of your own children. So start act as well as a leader. We've forgotten what the word leader means. The leader is leading, but leading first themselves and then the others. The leader It's not the one who knows everything, the one who has the courage to overcome something. The leader is one that creates when the path is unknown, not when it reacts. So this is the difference, and that's the real work of a business doctor for exponential change and exponential age. Not just helping people perform better inside pressure, but really changing from living in the fear, in survival, into the courage and see and create in the first place. Create the life you want. You are the leader because you're creating the life you want to live. From adopting to leading, from pressure to participation, from fear of the unknown to designing, creating, and building the unknown. And if you have been feeling tired, I get you. It's not because you are incapable, but because you are done living this permanent response and you even don't know why. You're getting frustrated because you don't have time for yourself. You don't have a space for yourself. You don't feel like you feel like everything has been taken from you away because you always respond and react and adapt and respond and attack. And it's never ending story until you say, hey, I am not here to keep up going. It's just tiring. It's exhausting. I'm here and I'm made to create and become really that creator. It's manifester. And yes, I'm using the innovation tools and I'm using a deep neuroscience and psychology and spiritual practices because all of it tells you the same and the most important truth. You are creator of your life. Your life depends on your leadership, on your own status. So when you change yourself, everything around changes. And doesn't mean you have to change because you're broken. It means you change because you want to create. You want to design, you want to live, you want to create whatever is next for you. Not just because you want to be more productive or more future-proof. You want to become a leader who can hold complexity, who can stay human, build what comes next under any circumstances. And that's what the future-ready leader does, the involved leader. Consciously, powerfully create what is next. And that's a state, that's the identity as well. But we have been trained and we keep saying the same thing. So let me ask you a question. Where in your life you're still adapting when you are actually being called to create? And just sit with this question and think about it, because the most important shift is really from thinking about it on the level of adaptation into the creation. And the creation give you the control. Why we have created the company? It's also because we wanted to give people back control, create instead of adapt. See you next time. Violeta, business doctor for exponential age.